1040impact.org.
I don't celebrate birthdays. I just don't celebrate birthdays. My brother checked me out of school in third hour and took me to the DMV. Now, I'd studied hard for that test. I wanted to pass it. I wanted my freedom. And I was so proud. I came out and I had my picture, weighing 136 pounds, sophomore. Right there, I got my ticket to freedom. So he takes me to the Pizza Hut, and we're eating pizza, and we're celebrating. And I get to drive my car back to the school, and I get to drive my car home that day. We had planned it that way. I'll never forget when I was 7 years old, I told my dad, I said, Dad, I'm going to live to be 120. And I think in my subconscious mind, I knew I needed that much time to redeem the root of bitterness and create what my therapist called a root of blessing. My therapist said there's two things you need to do to reverse the curse of bitterness and create blessing in your family and to bring it back. And you need to forgive yourself and you need to celebrate. Well, I was good at forgiving myself because I had screwed up a lot and I forgave a lot. Said, I'm going to run a marathon this year. And Michael, Matthew, Joshua, and Jeremiah, my four sons, they stepped out of the spectator area in the last 3 miles. They ran with me in 2008 and crossed that finish line with me. And as I told my sons, I said, sons, I am celebrating your birthday, but guess what? Next year, I'm celebrating my birthday on May the 10th, and all of you are invited. Celebrate with me. Thank you.
Changing lives in New York and NASDAQ and beyond. Michael D. Butler, global book publisher. We're ending human trafficking at 1040impact.org.
All right. Welcome back to the Michael D. Show. It's Tuesday morning everywhere, wherever you are in the world. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. It's Tuesday morning right here in Dallas, Texas. I'm glad you're here. And we got some exciting guests today. We've got Dee Collins here. We've got Debbie Adams. We've got Roy Snar in the house. Welcome, everybody. What happened to our warm sunshine, our warm weather? Dee, are you in this cold front in Tucson, Arizona? Oh, my goodness. It's a cold front. It's crazy. Roy, good to see you, brother. Hey, this is the Michael D. Show. We talk about faith, family, culture, and business every Tuesday. We have amazing guests from around the world. Last week, we had a journalist from Tel Aviv joining us. She may be back with us today. She actually had to go to her mom's shelter last week during the interview time, and we caught up with her. Roy, big shout out to you, Austin, Texas. How you feeling? I see you got the coat on, brother.
Yeah, rocking and roll. It's going to be 90 here on Friday, and so I'm excited to Twitter when I can, and it's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I'm telling you what, to go from 95 to 45 is just crazy. And I went to see my family this last weekend. My number 2 son bought a house, and my 11-year-old grandson having a birthday. So, I was putting some things in storage in my son's house. I said, "Hey, you're buying a house. Give me a closet to store some stuff." So I packed the car up, took some things up toward him, and dropped off. But as I'm coming back, it's 45 and raining through Dallas. I break into San Antonio. It's 78 and sunny. I'm like, wow. I'm going for a run. I'm getting outside, and now we're 45 again, and it's rainy. It's crazy. Roy, we got some exciting things planned and coming up. Why don't you just give us a quick 2-minute, 3-minute overview of what you're doing, and then we'll check back in as we go around and see who's here today. Introduce yourself to the viewers.
Yes, hi. This is Roy Snar. I'm an asset protection specialist. We run an agency that spans across the entire country, and we're fortunate enough to help thousands of people all over the country protect their assets with long-term care, life insurance, and annuities. It's very fun. We help agents and agencies. And the best part about it all is that we're really launching what we call the SNAR Foundation. It's an aggregate of charities, and Michael's being one of them, a 1040 Impact. And so we're really doing our best to give back to the community and have other agents contribute and give back to be a part of something larger than themselves.
It's very exciting. And what's the main website they go to? Is it Roy Snar Academy?
Well, it's just roysnar.com. We're building out the SNAR Foundation page right now, so that's not quite live, but it's going to have your charity on there. It's also going to have Daniel Gomez's Marty Strong Cancer Foundation, and then another one is called Superhero Kids, where we donate money to help parents that are getting bankrupt with medical bills when their kids have adverse health effects. So we help pay for their medical expenses and dinners and everything else. So.
Love that. Love that. You're doing some great work, and you've got an amazing story we're going to be hearing about in a little bit on how you got into this business. But every Tuesday morning, we were going live pre-summer. We back in the spring going live every Tuesday. A lot of buzz, people around the world. And by the way, we're glad you're here wherever you're watching us from, on YouTube, on Facebook, on LinkedIn. Go ahead and pop in the chat. Let us know you're watching, where you're watching from, and what platform you're watching on. I'm going to introduce my co-host for the day is Dee Collins from Tucson, Arizona. She's a serial entrepreneur. She's a best-selling author, and she's the founder of the Genius Life Network. Dee, how you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great. You have to excuse my voice. I'm a little hoarse. I was speaking on Sunday. I overdid it a little bit, but I am still here. And when you said it's Tuesday morning, it reminds me of something my friend always says, is that every day that ends in Y is a good day to be alive. So I'm glad to be here. I'm excited about all the work that you're doing, Michael D. Butler, and, the charity work. I'm so excited to be on with these other guests. And I've just been traveling, speaking, and I'm working on building an army of global world changers. So just excited about some of the things that we're going to be doing together as well.
I love that. Global world changers. I talk a lot about in my book, Finding the Speaker's Edge. I talked about the importance of creating a community. And I'm looking around here. It's been a little crazy because we're going into holiday seasons. When we hit September 1 in the publishing company, it's some crazy stuff because everybody's wanting to get their book out for Christmas, get their book out for Black Friday, get their book out for the new year. And for those of you that have books out, good for you. And for those of you that don't, it's not too late to pre-launch your book, to get it up. Literally, we put up 2 ebooks this morning that went live, and literally there's 8 books in the series. We're going to have the guest on, Gina St. George, here soon. She specializes in mergers and acquisitions and selling and scaling companies, and she's incredible. But literally pre-selling her book. So you want to pre-sell your book, and every holiday is an opportunity to speak more, to be on more stages, to talk more about your book. And Debbie is here from Chattanooga today. Debbie Adams, and her new book, Divine Promises. It's a faith book, and I'm thinking, Debbie, this is like your second book because Black Friday comes around. Here's a reason to go live on your Facebook and your social media. But you've done something very amazing, and we're going to talk about it today on the Michael D. Show. I want to say welcome to the Michael D. Show, where every Tuesday we talk about faith, family, culture, and business. We interview authors and amazing guests from around the world. A couple weeks ago, when we launched Powerful Female Immigrants Volume 3, we had 15 countries joining us and commenting. And so author Debbie Adams, your best-selling author of Divine Promises. I want to be sure I get that title right. Is that right? Divine Promises?
Yes. Divine Promises, Trusting God's Faithfulness.
Well, you've done something pretty cool. Is we have every Wednesday at 6 Central, we have an author mastermind for all of our Beyond Publishing authors. We've got authors in 64 countries. And you literally took me seriously when I said, you can take your book and literally go on Podmatch and literally book yourself on interviews around the world. And I think you've booked 13 podcast interviews. Is that right?
I've booked 12, and I've got 2 more that have emailed me that I need to schedule. So it's going to be probably close to 14 or 15 by the end of the year.
Congratulations. You're in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Did you have any media experience? I mean, were you one of these media darlings that was getting a call from the local TV stations every time something hit the news? Or was this your first foray into being a media darling?
I have had no experience in the media, and I just kind of played it by ear. And I listened to what you told us on the mastermind, and I just, things just kind of fell in place.
Well, really proud of you. Hold up your book there. Tell us a little bit about this book. How long did it take you to write it? Who did you write it for? And why are you getting so many interviews? It's incredible.
This is, where is it at? This is my book, Divine Promises, Trusting in God. Trusting in God's Faithfulness. And I wrote it because I have a testimony to share. And throughout my life, God has kept his promises to me in every life experience that I went through. I had no doubt that he would, but people need to hear that God is faithful, that God will keep his promises to you in this day and age that we live in. You know, it started out with COVID and now we got the war in Israel. I mean, people are fearful, and God didn't give us a spirit of fear. And so that's the main reason I wrote the book, because I want people, you know, to have, you know, faith in God, faith in his promises, and just be assured that no matter what you're going through, that God is going to be there to help you. You know, whether, you know, like me, I had cancer 15 years ago. Thankful to God that, you know, I'm cancer free. And whether it's health or protection, like I talk about in the book, how I was in a tornado and he just kind of, you know, moved it on. And, you know, I saw the hand of God in that. And my book is written for anybody who just needs reassurance that everything is going to be okay. And, you know, you can try to do things on your own. A lot of times it will not work out. But if you trust in God and God's promises, you know, you can be assured that God will never let you down.
You know, I love it, Debbie. And I think maybe it was you telling me that there's 365 promises in the Bible, one for each day of the year. What is the most important thing you've learned about yourself as you've done all these media interviews and as you've written the book? Did you find, because, you know, a lot of times we'll have authors tell us, you know, that they wrote a book to give them more credibility or to get them on more stages or to get them more interviews or to fill up their mastermind or whatever. But I find that a lot of times authors will tell me, and this has been true for me on every book I've written, and I've written a number of them now, is the personal journey, the personal growth that I learn about myself as I'm writing the book. What did you find out about yourself writing this book and doing all these interviews?
As I was writing the book and I'm, you know, writing down all of these former life experiences, it brought back to my memory, you know, how I was feeling at that time, what I was going through. And it reassured me again that God was there. God took care of me. I'm the person I am today because of God. And, you know, I'm not the type of person that would normally get on interviews and be talking, you know, about my book or talking about anything. And because I've never had a desire to be on media, but now, you know, talking about my book, I mean, give me an interview and, you know, I'll be there.
Well, I love it. And, you know, that's the beautiful thing about it. A lot of people will write their book and then they're kind of sick and tired of talking about their book, you know, because, hey, it's written and they don't want to talk about it anymore because they've slept with their manuscript for 6 months. They've rewritten it. They've had friends and family give them feedback on the manuscript. And now here they are. And it's time to start talking about your book. But I'm really proud of the success you've had doing that. And just really glad you could be here with us today. Go check her out, debbieadams.biz. And yeah, just what are you thinking about for a next book? Is there another book in the works, or are you sticking with these two?
I have already got another book in the works. I've already got a main title. I don't have a subtitle yet. I'm just I've got the introduction written, but that's as far as I've gotten. I'm praying about how I need to do this book, which direction, you know, God needs to take me. But the title of the next one, I'll go ahead and give you that. The title of the next one is Straighten Your Crown. And it's not the crown on your head. It's the crown in your heart. It's more of how, you know, keep a positive attitude on life, on things, your relationships with others, stuff like that.
Outstanding. Well, it's great to have you here today, Debbie. I really appreciate you, and we're honored to have you. And I hope you stick around because we got some amazing guests today on the Michael D Show, the show that talks about faith, family, culture, and business every day. Well, it is a special day for some people. For a lot of people, it's a normal day, but for some people, it's different. And, we love to check in with Dan Snell, the author of The Winsome Candidate. I was looking for Dan, but I don't really see him here. I see somebody called Coach Prime. So, Coach Prime, welcome to the show.
Glad
you're here.
It's Halloween. It's Halloween, so you got to dress up. Who would you like to be like? And like Debbie said, she believes. And that's the question is, do you believe? Do you believe? And Coach Prime's got everybody believing.
I love that. Well, I tell you what, man, he's taken Colorado by storm. He's, I think, the only person that's been featured on 60 Minutes 2 times. That's Deion Sanders, the Hall of Fame Pro Bowl, defensive back for the Dallas Cowboys. What an amazing story. I actually went and watched this documentary. Dan, tell us a little history on this. You dressed up. It's Halloween. Some people celebrate that. Not everybody does, but I got to tell you, if I was going to celebrate Halloween, I would have to think about that and get back to you. So give us a little more history behind this amazing flamboyant character you got.
So we should all have a lot of little boy in us, right? A guy from Oklahoma, Mickey Mantle, you grew up in Oklahoma. He said, you got to have a lot of little boy in you to play this game. So it doesn't matter how old you are, 67, 47, 27. What do you want to be on Halloween? And I thought, I want to honor Coach Prime. In fact, I sent Coach Prime, shameless plug for you, Michael, The Winsome Way of the book, my book you published. He's a winsome guy. I sent Coach Prime a note, and I said, Coach, you're the most winsome guy, not only in football, college football, but in all of sports. And right now what the world needs, he's got a message of working hard, striving to do what you want to do and believe in. He's got a message of faith. You got to love this guy. So it's my tribute to Coach Prime. I believe in what he's doing. And again, is not unlike you, Michael. So if you think about it, I'll take my Coach Prime off and just be Dan. What you did for me was a lot what Coach Prime is doing for the Buffaloes and for all of college football. I was a little bit slow. It took me 5 or 6 years, and I was working on this book. Then I meet you, boom, 6 months later. Not only do I have the book published, but on my way to a second book, but you've got me out and engaged on podcasts and stages. So a little thank you to you.
Changing lives in New York and NASDAQ and beyond. Michael D. Butler, global book publisher. We're ending human trafficking at 1040impact.org.
I don't celebrate birthdays. I just don't celebrate birthdays. My brother checked me out of school in third hour and took me to the DMV. Now, I'd studied hard for that test. I wanted to pass it. I wanted my freedom. And I was so proud. I came out and I had my picture, weighing 136 pounds, sophomore. Right there, I got my ticket to freedom. So he takes me to the Pizza Hut, and we're eating pizza, and we're celebrating. And I get to drive my car back to the school, and I get to drive my car home that day. We had planned it that way. I'll never forget when I was 7 years old, I told my dad, I said, Dad, I'm going to live to be 120. And I think in my subconscious mind, I knew I needed that much time to redeem the root of bitterness and create what my therapist called a root of blessing. My therapist said there's 2 things you need to do to reverse the curse of bitterness and create blessing in your family and to bring it back. And you need to forgive yourself and you need to celebrate. Well, I was good at forgiving myself because I had screwed up a lot and I forgave a lot. Said, I'm going to run a marathon this year. And Michael, Matthew, Joshua, and Jeremiah, my 4 sons, they stepped out of the spectator area in the last 3 miles. They ran with me in 2008 and crossed that finish line with me. And as I told my sons, I said, sons, I am celebrating your birthday, but guess what? Next year, I'm celebrating my birthday on May the 10th, and all of you are invited. Celebrate with me.
Changing lives in New York and NASDAQ and beyond. Michael D. Butler, global book publisher. We're ending human trafficking at 1040impact.org.
Yeah, You know you're talking too much when you get cut to a commercial. So, life lesson there in a podcast.
Bear with us for just a moment. We're having a few technical difficulties, but isn't technology wonderful? Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Hey, so I'm T. Collins, and I'm going to step in until Michael D. Butler comes back. Are you guys hearing an echo like I am?
I am. Somebody we need to mute. Maybe Michael.
Okay. All right. So we're on today, and we are featuring some very special guests, some very special authors. We're super excited about the people we've had on. We did hear from Debbie. Debbie, I'm so excited, and I'm looking so forward to getting your book, and it just really inspired me while you were speaking. I'm so glad also that you are working on your next book as well, and that you're just, staying on the path. I recently did something I wasn't even planning to do, but I was in my quiet time, and God spoke to me about releasing a prayer journal. So it was very specific because it was Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So it's, the Beautiful Woman Breast Cancer Healing Prayer Journal. I've never had breast cancer, but I know about 8 or 9 people who have gone through it, experienced it. People don't know what they have gone through in their private lives. My mom did pass away from pancreatic cancer. And so I put together this book, and on Sunday, I was able to put it into the hands of the first person that was also part of the book. And they were just sharing it with everybody, and so happy to be able to have that guided prayer, that gratitude, that inspiration, and that thing to help take them to the next level. So what we're going to do is I'm going to share a little bit about, while we're waiting for Michael D. Butler to come back, something that we would like to invite all of you wonderful authors to. And we are partnering with an organization called the Easy Way Network. It's called the Easy Way Network. I don't know if any of you have heard of it, but we are sponsoring and hosting an author's pitch party in November on Black Friday. So we want you to come out, and you might say, what is an author's pitch party? It is exactly what it sounds to be, and it's where you come and pitch your book. And we want you to come. You can register for free. I'm going to go ahead and put the link in the chat, and we're going to make sure that the link is also available to the viewers that are online. But what you can do, this is going to be on November the 24th, which is Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, and it's going to be at 10 a.m. Pacific time. And we want every single author out there, no matter who you are, no matter what your book is about, we want you to be on and come in this like-minded community of authors and writers and thought leaders, and tell us about your book. Are any of you available? Will any of you be available to come on, you think, to go ahead and pitch your book and share it with the world? Because that's what it's all about. Welcome back, Michael D. Butler.
Awesome. Wow. I got to say that Coach Prime was amazing. We'll have to have him back. But D, I'm so excited about your event here. And, you and I met at the Marketers Cruise, and I guess we've been to 5 or 6 countries together by way of the cruise ship, which would be a great week to be on a cruise right now. In fact, I'm thinking, wow, great weather to be on a cruise. So, it's all about synergy. It's one thing to talk about your book once you launch it. And I think your idea of a journal is a great idea. And, that's where you and I connected synergistically, because you work with authors, I work with authors, and we've just stayed in touch. In fact, you love to speak, and you sent me your YouTube video of you speaking from church. And I thought, wow, Dan, I should share this video with you because this girl can preach. That was epic. And that was just epic. But, Dan, you might remember a couple years ago, we did this in December. We called it, we just wanted to get everybody together. It was during the pandemic where we said, everybody is isolated in their homes. Nobody's traveling. Let's get everybody together. And we called it Author Popcorn. You remember that? And we hung out.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. We had a lot of people.
And we had a great time. So, Dee, tell me a little bit more about this. We got the details up. There's the bit.ly link. Go to bit.ly/authors pitch party opens. And I got to tell you, this group, Easy Way and Eric Zuley, they put together some great online events. And so, Dee, you're a part of that. Typically, you guys have hundreds of people at your events. This is an online Black Friday party. Tell us a little bit more what people can expect to see and why they're going to want to show up.
Oh, well, first of all, they're going to want to show up because you're co-hosting with me. So thank you very much for agreeing to do that and being our special VIP co-host guest. The reason why they're going to want to show up is because we see pitch parties all the time and people get on and pitch. And pitching is good, but this is much more than pitching. This is sharing. I did found this organization called Genius Life Network. And there was actually a man who said there's a fine line between genius and insanity. And what I came up with is the saying that you can be insanely blessed and profitable when you decide to share your inner genius with the world. And that's what books is all about. Oh, you came back as a leprechaun. Let me find my pot of gold. Is there a rainbow somewhere at the end of the rainbow here? But I wanted
top of the morning to you. Well, I was, since Coach Prime was here earlier and did such a great job, and I couldn't be upstage because I don't normally celebrate Halloween. My kids are grown, but if I was going to dress up for a fall festival party, I would dress up as this character. Does anybody know who this character is? He went to Ireland. His name was. What was his name? Ireland. St. Patrick. He brought the gospel to Ireland. So if you were going to guess that, you would have won. You would have won. Awesome. So what does one wear? Speaking of attire, it's on Black Friday. What is the attire at this author's pitch party, Dee?
You know what? The attire is success, boldness, and being genuine. So just show up as who you are. One thing I wanted to say, I did hear Dr. Mike Murdoch say something once, which I thought was so powerful. And he said that a book can go where you cannot always go. And that's the power of a book. He said that God sent his son, but he left his book. So that's what is so powerful. You have to have a book. Take what's inside of you, leave it out. Come to the pitch party. We invite you. We want you to be among other authors, other aspiring authors, other writers. We want to hear about your book. So just come. We'll give you 30 seconds. That doesn't seem like a lot, but that's a commercial, people. And so you can get on, tell us about it, share where they can get it, and just be among so many people who are have taken the time to immortalize their voice, put it on paper, and share it with the world. Come to that author's pitch party, November the 24th. It's going to be 10 a.m. Pacific time, and we'll make sure that you have the link so that you can register. You can register in advance, and then you'll get reminders.
Woo! Great idea. A lot happens when the synergy comes together. The magic starts to happen. And you know what? If you want to go fast, go by yourself. But if you want to go far, go with a group. And I like what Abraham Lincoln said. He said, if I had 6 hours to chop down a tree, I would spend the first 4 sharpening the axe. So people sharpen us. We get around other people. So I got to say, it was great to have Coach Prime here, but Dan Snell's here as well. And Dan, you're the author of The Winsome Candidate. This weekend, we're exactly 365 days out from a national presidential election. All eyes are on the Republicans, the Democrats, the Independents, the Green Party. There's a lot of news. Why don't you give us a Winsome Candidate report with your breaking news? I love your backdrop. Very nice.
Yeah. These are unprecedented times in American history and politics, and it's really started with the revolution. I think when social media was used by Barack Obama, everybody kind of forgets that, but he really did use what we use every day, social media, and that helped him get elected. And then Donald Trump perfected the art of the how do I say that nicely? I don't want to say trash talk, but to find a way to rise up through unique circumstances. So here we go. We have one candidate, former President Trump, that's facing a lot of challenges, yet in the polls, he's still ahead. On the Democrat side, I think you've got a situation there where we're going to see some changes happen. Quite frankly, and I've said this before, I've said this on some national interviews, and I know, Michael, you might not agree with me. We are going to have to agree to disagree, but I do not think that neither President Biden nor Donald Trump will be the candidates. And some things have to happen before the end of the year. And so I'll be glad to say it here. I think that President Biden, for the good of the country, needs to have a fireside chat and say, I'm looking at things, and he recognizes right now he's being held up and guided by people. I think he's a good man. I think it's time for him to recognize where he's at, and his legacy can be good with some of the things he's done. Donald Trump, I think, also has to recognize where he's going to be at in the spring, and he can become a kingmaker. And he'll be great as a kingmaker because he can travel around the country, travel to the White House, travel on the Trump airplane, be a superhero, gather the crowds that he likes. So he can have what he wants and probably a pardon. I am surprised this last week at the drop out of the current campaign. I say drop out, but the suspension by Mike Pence.
That's what I was going to ask you. I was waiting to get to that. I was going to ask you about Winsome Pence and what happened there. He couldn't raise the funds. He couldn't
keep involved to help people with candidates and money talks, and I think that there were a lot of factors there. But I still believe, stay tuned, that if a suspension means taking a pause, if he doesn't come out and actively endorse anybody for a while, there still could be. I'm seeing a lot of reports behind the scenes that a lot of people are going, "Hey, wait a minute." In the end, he could have been the guy standing up. Why? I'll tell you the why. My dad always said, tell him what and tell him why. If those people that like Donald Trump on the Republican side, they love him because of his policies, that everybody always says, well, I love his policies. We need his policies. Yeah, I don't like his personality. Come on, America. Do you want your kindergartner acting like that? Do you want your seventh grader? Do you want your high school student? I mean, as a student of politics, I would say no. So Donald Trump could say about a candidate, in fact, one that he lifted up, Mike Pence, hey, I'm gonna support him. And then you get somebody like a Kristi Noem, and then if you're a Republican, that looks good for the Republicans because
so the Mike Pence train's not going to fly, Dan. I hate to break it to you, but that's looking at
well, stay tuned. Everybody said the Donald Trump train.
I want to ask you a question before you try to resurrect old skeletons. What do you think about the Hamas support on these college campuses? It seems very anti-Israeli. If I was a Jewish student on campus, if I was a parent of kids on campus, I would be hiring private security. I mean, I am not only surprised, but I'm amazed that these presidents of these universities that depend on donors aren't coming out and standing for the safety of their Jewish students. What is your thought?
Yeah, well, it's part of I think the brokenness of America, why we need a fresh start with a candidate that returns us to where we once were. It's sad, and a lot of it, and I believe this, it should happen around the kitchen table. Ronald Reagan said all great decisions or all great change is determined around the kitchen table, and the parents of those people on those campuses don't know the history. Quite frankly, there's a biblical history, which I know some of you will know, the power of what's going on from a biblical perspective, but bigger than that, from a strength of America and who we've always been. Parents aren't sitting around and talking about government, leadership, what's right, loyalty, and how to make the place we call home better. And so I think those people on the campus, it's certainly, I hate to see it. And they're just, as my daughter Sarah once said when she was 6 years old, when she saw somebody being mean in the grocery store, she said, Daddy, some people are nice and some people, they just don't know. And I think right now, I'll quote my daughter, a lot of people just don't know. They just aren't paying attention, and they're just armchair quarterbacks and shooting from the hip. We need to study and find the right leaders.
So for those of you that were here last week, we had Osnat from the Knesset in Tel Aviv giving us a report. In fact, she was going to give us a report at 15 after the hour. It was the top of the hour before she can come on, because we actually showed you the footage of her being called to the bunker. I mean, she lives on the third floor of her condo, and 30 times in the last 25 days, literally her and her son are sleeping in their shoes, sleeping in their clothes, because even though they're in Tel Aviv and they have the Iron Dome over them, her neighbors are getting hit with rockets. There are a percentage of these rockets that aren't captured by the Iron Dome. And so we pray for all of the hostages, the 220 plus hostages that right now, many of them, 10 of them Americans, 40 of them from different countries, and the rest of them Israelis, and the 1,400 lives that were lost, the family members that are going through anguish and pain. And I think the bigger pain is the not knowing, as a parent, not knowing, is your kid okay? Are they being tortured? Are they being raped? Are they being starved to death? You know, are they going to be murdered on live television? You know, that's the question. So this was a terrorist attack. Israelis are not settlers. It's their land. It's their country. And in 2005, Ariel Sharon agreed to a two-state solution with Ronald Reagan. Speaking of Ronald Reagan, who asked for a two-state solution, which was a huge mistake, we found out, because the charter of Hamas is not about a two-state solution. It's about killing every Israeli, every Jewish person in the world. So that's why a two-state solution won't work. So Dan, I appreciate your winsome report. We want to check in with you. I know there's some elections coming up in the state level, some gubernatorial races. I mean, Kari Lake's running for Senate in Arizona. There's a lot to keep our eyes on. Do you have any news that we need to keep our eyes on? Are there any elections we need to look at? You know, Mike Tyson says everybody is a hero until they get punched in the face. And what you said about Mike Pence dropping out. Yeah, he was running out of money. You always got to ask, why is he running out of money? I think what killed his candidacy worse than anything, I think Tucker Carlson gave him the death blow about 2.5 months ago, when he was leading Mike like a jiu-jitsu move, you know, in jiu-jitsu, and I'm not a jiu-jitsu expert, but you use the force of the other person's weight against them. And when they lean in for the punch, you step back and pull their shirt and they land on the ground. And he was coming out so hard in defending our billions and billions of dollars that were going to Ukraine. He just basically said in that soundbite moment that haunted him, well, I don't care about America. I'm here for Ukraine. And you know, I know that's not what he meant, but that's what he said, and that's what it sounded like he meant, and that got played back again and again. So Dan, is there any
key word there is soundbite? And if we were to take this hour program right here, and you were to take excerpts of some things I said or anyone on here, and just took little clips, we could look really good, really good. You can make me sound good, or if you want to, you can make me sound really bad. And in that case, what Tucker Carlson did, and I say shame on him, but he does it to what? Gain followers, grow his bit after his loss and getting booted from Fox. He's trying to grow a new revenue stream. So he's going to put the most dramatic things out there. And that's what he did. And yes, it hurt Mike Pence. Is it right? I don't think so.
Well, Dan, keep us posted. We look forward. We always love having you here on the Michael D Show every week here at 10 a.m. around the world. And my scripture for the day is Psalms 121:4. He that looks after Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. It looked like God was sleeping on October 7th. This was a big security failure. We know there was a lot of strife in the country. We know there was a lot of, just like there is in the United States right now, there was a lot of strife, internal strife. There was a lot of disagreements at the political level between Bibi Netanyahu and his Supreme Court. And but I got to tell you, when I was in Israel in 2019, they loved the fact that he was tough on terror. He was tough on Hamas. He was tough on terrorists. And so we're in for a long war. I show my support for Israel, and some people say, "Why are you so pro-Israel?" And I say, "Well, because if Israel is the great is the Satan, and the U.S. is the great Satan, we have to take terrorists literally for what they say. When they say they're going to do something, they do it. And I don't believe it's a land dispute. I don't believe it's a misunderstanding, but I believe when they say they're for the annihilation of all the Jews, you got to take them for their word. So this is not a call for a ceasefire. This is a call for, you remember after 9/11, how united we became as a country. for our countrymen and women. And even though we were misguided in the Iraq War and we were given some bad information, they know exactly who attacked them on October 7th. And I support Israel. And if you look at the videos like I have as a journalist, I'm in the journalist chat groups and seen the gruesome things that have been done to the families there that were intentionally very savage and sadistic, and they were meant to intimidate and put fear into Israel, and Israel's not going to be intimidated. So that being said, it's great to have Ben Gold here, excited about his new book. Ben, thanks for joining us today. Why don't you give us a big soundbite, and where are we at on your book launch, Finding Your Next Job with ChatGPT? Good to see you, Ben.
Well, I was going to ask you, I'm right now, the book is completed. Just a little bit about me. I come from the technology space and have been spending the last year helping different people from a career point of view leverage this AI that has come out, ChatGPT, to better position themselves for the new reality, because the world is very different today than it was a year ago. That is, this generative AI is something that's transforming the world. So if you look at every industry from real estate, finance, technology, healthcare, education, this technology has certain opportunities. That is that it's helping people become more efficient. It's writing better content. It's doing better data analysis. However, with it, there's a challenge of certain jobs being replaced by robots. And so what this book is about is to help people that are afraid of technology, or who've not really delved into what is generative AI. It is designed to give them a roadmap of this is how you can use it to not only get your next job, but to keep it by being understanding of these different trends.
Outstanding. What's the best way for people to find you, Ben? It's called Finding Your Next Job with ChatGPT. What's the website?
The website is bengoldai.com.
Outstanding. Outstanding. So tell me a little bit about writing this book.
Fantastic.
What is that?
I said fantastic on that. I'm involved with a gentleman that was a 3-time Silicon Valley Board of Directors, and actually today at noon we host a discussion group on AI. I'll maybe get my information from you and invite you to that. I'd love to have you as a guest. It's just a discussion, but it is exponentially. Of course, yesterday the president talked about regulating and safeguard, but what you said is just spot on. So I look forward to getting your book.
There's his contact right there, Dano. So it's great to have you, Ben. Go to bengoldai.com. And speaking of AI, Ben, I should have you as a guest tomorrow on our webinar, Beyond Webinar. We teach you how to write your book in 1 hour. You know, I've been teaching this since before the pandemic. We've helped hundreds of people write their first book and second and third book. And so what we're going to be teaching tomorrow is how to use AI to help you do the research and organizing of the table of contents on your next book. So I want you to go to the webinar to RSVP beyondwebinar.com. I've got the ticker coming up here in a little bit. Ben, what was the biggest takeaway on writing this book? How much of this was you? How much of this was AI writing the book?
So I wrote the book in 5 days. And what I can say is that that my philosophy, and I hope you can tell me if this is congruent with what you're going to teach tomorrow, is in order to write a book, you need to have some sort of background information. You can't just say to ChatGPT, "Hey, write me a book." Right. But I had spent 6 months both looking for a job, then I created a startup, and so I was getting really involved with different job seeker groups. So I had a very good expertise. But once I knew, I said, hey, I need to write a book. I was able to go back and forth with ChatGPT and be able to organize my thoughts. And it was really about if you can, AI is best leveraged when you know your story, when you write it and you give your best structure and say, hey, here's a section, here's what I want to say, help me say it better. And a lot of times they'll get it wrong. And so it's important to continue to iterate and go back and forth. Now, because my book, about 50% of it is actual prompts and responses, you know, about half of the book is AI generated, but it's designed to show people how with little bit of data contextual data, this generative AI can come up with some fantastic insights and efficiencies and value propositions.
I'll give you an example. The other day, because I've been intending to do a series of children's books, you might know that we have the #1 selling children's series in North America for 8 to 11-year-olds, the Harry Moon series at Harry Moon and Honeymoon. And we've got 26 books in the series. It's for 8 to 11-year-olds. And we've sold 500,000 of these books. And it's about a town stuck in Halloween that can't get out. So it's a great day for this book series. They all have a full color poster in them. The books are all full color inside. And school principals just love these books. You'll walk into a school and school teachers, the janitor, all the teachers are reading the book. And it's really a faith-based book, but it's written Harry Potter style with beautiful art. And it helps kids with dyslexia because of the font continue reading. And so it's just beautifully done. And there's the series. And the #1 reason people buy books is because it is a series. And so I've been wanting to do my own series of children's books. And so I laid out the prompts. And Ben, you're exactly right. If you don't know what prompts are, it's the parameters you give ChatGPT. And I call her because I think the way she thinks is very intuitive and nurturing. And but if you know the prompts to put in, and if you type it properly and ask the right questions and ask for feedback, it's going to be outstanding. And so she literally gave me an 8-book synopsis. I said, I've got a girl 8 to 11 years old. She's in the Midwest. Here's the thing. Here's the core values we're teaching in all 8 of the books. And she gave me the synopsis to all 8 of these books, all the way down to what each illustration should look like in about 2.5 minutes. And so it's like you can reject technology or you can embrace technology. And quite frankly, I choose to embrace it because it doesn't take away from human touch, but it does help organize. It does help research. It does help with table of contents, and it does even help you understand marketing. So we talk about it every Wednesday night on the Beyond Publishing Mastermind. Ben, I need to invite you to that. I don't think I've invited you yet. So typically what we do about 3 weeks after you launch your book, we invite you to that group. So be looking for a Google invite, because every week we had a chat GPT expert on recently. But go ahead and RSVP for Write Your Book in 1 hour at Beyond Webinar. I'm doing it again tomorrow, like I do every month, the first of every month. We do a deep dive, and this month, we're featuring how to use ChatGPT to think 3 books ahead. Because D. Collins, I know you are friends with my mutual friend, Sharon Lechter, who's written numbers of New York Times bestselling books, founder of Rich Dad, Poor Dad series. She's written some great books like Exit Rich, dear friend of mine. And she's always talking when she's on stage. She's talking about her next 5 books. So, D, we're here on that. The world's celebrating Halloween. Dan Snell is Coach Prime today. Ben Gold, congratulations on your book. Glad you could be with us today. Go check him out. Go follow him there at bengoldai.com. And that's just exciting. Join us again. Come back. D, let's talk a little bit about where you're seeing the future of business, the future of women in business. I like to tell everybody that when you're writing a book, you got to realize 85% of your readers are women. 75% of your readers don't live in the U.S. They live outside the U.S. What are you seeing as trends now since we met on the Marketers Cruise a few years back? We've had the pandemic, and now we have this, Hamas support. Did you ever think you would see this kind of Palestinian support? And I think a lot of people don't realize that Palestinians and Hamas, 2 different people groups. They don't understand. So just give me your big picture. Think, what's the future of selling more books and being an effective speaker as you build out the Genius Network? What have you noticed?
Well, Michael D. Butler, I'm glad you asked. First, I would like to say nice to meet you, Ben, and thank you for being prolific in the AI space. I have been using ChatGPT. I really appreciate the technology. I'm looking forward to seeing where this thing is going to go. And one of the things that I've been able to use it for as well, in addition to content creation, is in creating of introductions, creating of descriptions, finding out what are going to be the best categories, also generating keywords so that I can put that keyword rich content into the descriptions and, then like hook into that SEO to help get the book out there. But one thing that I did recently, which is something that I've done for the first time, like I said, the journal that I just published was spontaneous. But while I was publishing it, I got an idea about, you talked about synergy, Michael, and about how you can come together and how powerful it is to connect, because, one to chase 1,000, but two will put 10,000 to flight. And so we can do so much more together. And what I did was, in this last book, at the back of the book, I put a resource page, and I actually featured other people's books inside of my book. So I know that if you like this content, well, I really enjoyed this author, and so I recommend this author. So I think by helping each other, recommending each other, and not just, realizing that there's enough for all of us, if we support one another, then we can go farther, as you said.
Amen.
Absolutely. One thing that we're really passionate about at Beyond Publishing, and I've been passionate about this for years now, is rescuing kids from human trafficking. Some people don't realize how fully we're embedded in this world of rescuing kids from human trafficking. And we rescued another family of 4 while you were sleeping Saturday night. So I've got a 90-second video to share with you in which we feature this. So check it out. You're watching the Michael D Show, where you're helping make a huge difference. And our Beyond Publishing authors, 30% of the revenue from Beyond Publishing goes to help our kids in Asia. We have 4 safe houses there and a safe house in Oklahoma. And all of our board members have been to Asia with me to see the work there on the ground. We have 25 full-time staff. So 2 years ago, when the U.S. pulled out of Afghanistan, the parents were so desperate that can you take a guy serious that was wearing a leprechaun hat? Well, if it's St. Patrick, maybe you can, because he converted all of Ireland to Christianity. So there you go. And what an amazing story there. As he died for his faith, he's a martyr. And I recommend, if you really are interested in stories about people that are laying down their life for their faith, read Voice of the Martyrs. Amazing stuff right there. So we're still at war in the world. I think a lot of Americans that are born and raised here, they don't take it seriously. They don't know what's going on. If you've traveled to as many nations as I have, if you read the Voice of the Martyrs and others, Fox's Book of Martyrs and others, you realize what's happening in China. You realize what's happening in North Korea. You realize what's happening in Nigeria. Christians are getting slaughtered. That's happening in Pakistan. That's happening in India. And so we pray for these hostages that they are released. They do have one stated goal. And we're very fortunate that we've been blessed to rescue 54 girls from Afghanistan whose parents were so desperate, they sold them to traffickers. We were able to purchase them. I was telling one of my callers this morning, the first week we purchased 27 of them. They were $200 each. The following week, the price had dropped from $200 to $100 each. So we have a total of 415 full-time girls and 25 staff now, which brings the total to 415 girls and staff after our recent rescue. And all donations in the month of October are tripled. So if you're able to do $10 today, that becomes $30. If you're able to do $40, that becomes $120, because Beyond Publishing triple matches. So if you're a Beyond Publishing author, you are, by virtue of the fact that you're in this family, doing a great thing, but you can do a little additional. That's appreciated. Thank you so much. And so We're glad you're here. Dee, what was the biggest thing you discovered about yourself after writing your books? How many books have you written and published? And what did you learn most about yourself during that time?
Oh, my goodness. Well, I have probably written and published, I guess, about 7 books.
Okay.
I need to go back and count. I've kind of lost count, and I have more books in the queue.
You're like
but
kids.
I've always been a writer.
Right? You just lose count. I get it. I
Yeah.
get it.
I've always been a writer since the time I was a little girl. I used to go down into our basement in Ohio and sit at my dad's giant desk, and I used to write on typing paper, and I used to take construction paper and make my own covers and staple it together. So I had a little
did the exact same thing.
You
No
did?
way.
Get out.
No
Yes.
way.
So I had a little publishing company.
I did too. I think my mom's got some of those books still in a box up in the attic somewhere. Yeah.
I wish I could find mine. I can remember making them like it was yesterday. And throughout the years, I've always written, and my mother was always my biggest cheerleader, and she was the one that used to urge me to publish. And I used to tell her that I was going to publish, but I didn't. And then one day she got mad at me and she said, just give me your stuff and I'll publish it. And I was like, oh, Mom, I'll do it. Just calm down. Well, what happened is that she was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. And 6 months later, she was gone and I hadn't published anything. And that's when I realized that procrastination is the thief of dreams. Yeah. And so my first writing job was her obituary. And then I published online because I just wanted to keep my word. So I published a 5,000 word article, the living from diagnosis to death, the diary of a cancer patient's daughter. Didn't think anybody would read it, put my phone number in the article. Well, as it turns out, 30,000 people read it. And I started getting calls all times of the day or night from all over the world. And then I started publishing poetry online, and then I published a book called Does Heaven Have a Post Office? And then from there, I partner with people I've never met, never talked to on the phone. There's an artist in India. I loved his art. He loved my poetry. I said, send me your collection. I published Rain in the Wind, a collection of art and poetry. So I do fiction, I do nonfiction, I do inspiration, I do spiritual, just whatever the Lord puts upon my heart to write. But it has changed me as a person, because when my mom was pressing for me to publish, it wasn't so much about how good my writing was. It was about the impact that it could make on other people's lives and how many people it would help and change their lives. And that's why, I'm so adamant about building an army of world changers and help people, publish potent content that's going to make a difference.
I got to tell you this, that 85% of America wants to write a book. Only 15% ever do. And so the thing is, the best time to write a book was 20 years ago. The second best time to write it is today. So I met a client recently in Vegas, and he says, hey, I'm speaking in Maui next week. And I'm like, oh, who are you speaking for? And he said, Bob Harrison. I'm like, oh, I know Bob Harrison. I've been wanting to go to his conference. Tell you what, you hire me to publish your book, and I'll fly to Maui on my own dime next week, and I will launch your book a week from now as a bestseller. We'll go number 1 on Amazon. And I created a cover for him that week. This was pre-pandemic. And his name's Alan Asp. And Dan, you know Alan.
Yeah.
My Jewish Secret is what it was. My Jewish Secret. And we came up with a cover that week that he loved. I flew to Maui. He gets on stage for just like 15 minutes. We pre-sell the book. It goes number 1 on Amazon. He gets all these print book orders. And 2 months later, when we launched the book, we're shipping out these books to everybody. And guess what? He just decided to say yes and make it happen. So we're coming into Christmas. We're coming into Hanukkah. We're coming into New Year's. We're coming into Black Friday, where all the magic happens. Listen, you've got stuff in your head. You've got stuff in your heart you've been wanting to do for years. And like you promised your mom, you did it, Dee. So good for you. You get ready to have your dad's, 80 what birthday party?
85th. 85. Dad's going to be 85. And you know what? He was at church on Sunday. When I was speaking, I actually acknowledged him at church on Sunday. And I was speaking from a really old text, the David and Goliath. But my message, it was so in line with what you're saying. My message was ready, set, go. Unleash your inner giant. So let's go. What else? What are you waiting
I'm so proud of you, and that's a great word to end on. Dee, thanks for helping me co-host today. Thanks for being here, Dan, Ben, Debbie. Thank you so much. We're going to bring it out with this, but I want you to jump on. Don't miss anything. Go to beyondwebinar.com. We're going to keep you in the loop, email you everything, sign up RSVP for the Black Friday Authors Pitch Party with Dee. It's going to be a blast. There it is. There it is. Hey, listen, you make my world go round every Tuesday. This is a highlight of my week, and I'm glad you're here. Thanks for joining us. Go out and change the world today, change somebody's life, and why not finally launch that new book? You know what? The world needs a win. We had some wins today, and I want to celebrate all your wins. Thank you very much. Thanks for being in my life. You make it bigger. You make the stage bigger, and you amplify all of our voices together because we're doing it together. God bless you. Thank you very much.
Changing lives in New York and NASDAQ and beyond. Michael D. Butler, Global Book Publisher. We're ending human trafficking at 1040impact.org.
I don't celebrate birthdays. I just don't celebrate birthdays. My brother checked me out of school in third hour and took me to the DMV. Now, I'd studied hard for that test. I wanted to pass it. I wanted my freedom. And I was so proud. I came out and I had my picture, weighing 136 pounds, sophomore. Right there, I got my ticket to freedom. So he takes me to the Pizza Hut, and we're eating pizza, and we're celebrating. And I get to drive my car back to the school, and I get to drive my car home that day. We had planned it that way. I'll never forget when I was 7 years old, I told my dad, I said, Dad, I'm going to live to be 120. And I think in my subconscious mind, I knew I needed that much time to redeem the root of bitterness and create what my therapist called a root of blessing. My therapist said there's two things you need to do to reverse the curse of bitterness and create blessing in your family and to bring it back. And you need to forgive yourself and you need to celebrate. Well, I was good at forgiving myself because I had screwed up a lot and I forgave a lot. I said, I'm going to run a marathon this year. And Michael, Matthew, Jeremiah, my four sons, they stepped out of the spectator area in the last 3 miles. They ran with me in 2008 and crossed that finish line with me. And as I told my sons, I said, sons, I am celebrating your birthday, but guess what? Next year, I'm celebrating my birthday on May the 10th, and all of you are invited. Celebrate with me. Thank you. Thank you, Dave.
Changing lives in New York and NASDAQ and beyond. Michael D. Butler, Global Book Publisher. We're ending human trafficking at 1040impact.org.